Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network's YouTube channel. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can find us on Facebook and stay up to date on our Facebook group, or find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcasts can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Google Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for podcasts, hosts, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now. Enjoy the community. Subscribe today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be on this spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's weekly series, The Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. If this is your first time watching, please click subscribe, like, share, comment, and follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Today, Victimhood, 7 Universal Truths, and Spiritual Awakening. Award-winning author Michael McGinnis is here with us as a change catalyst. He has dedicated his life to the awakening of humanity on a global level. Through extensive self-study and firsthand experience, he has been gifted to serve as a channel for the words the world needs to hear at the most critical and crucial moment in history. He shows that through our perception, we are solely responsible for the joy and contentment we will experience in our lives. Therein lying the key to our liberation, or the lock that keeps us in a prison of victimhood indefinitely. When you recreate the world through your perception, you not only recreate it for yourself, but for the whole world. Let's welcome to the show, Michael McGinnis. That is an audience.
That's great. Thank you for having me.
Welcome, brother. How you doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome. How did you get down in this path? This is an awesome path.
Yeah.
What was the catalyst?
Different hard times in my life, mainly, that sparked these things, and I had different moments where there were different types of transformational occurrences, experiences, awakenings. And it happened from, usually, like I said, sparked from something that was difficult in my life, a breakup or a thing with the family or something. And then, I found my way in different ways. One was a course, one was listening to a book by Eckhart Tolle. And then probably the bigger ones that really made the big shift were the visionary journeys that I went on about 10 years ago was when I started that.
Yeah, these adversities we have in our life, whether it's tragedy or hiccups, or that's what sparks it. And as for me, or I wouldn't be here doing this show.
Exactly.
Now, as far as let's get into the book. Let's talk about the book, and you actually have 2 books out.
Yeah.
Explain. Let me look at.
They're I got them right here. So that's a series, and the name of the series is The Essential Revolution, and this is book 1, and this is book 2 of The Essential Revolution, The Invitation, and book 3 will be called The Summoning, and I will write that in December, I believe.
Cool. Now, I'm interested in if it's not 2, because 7 can be a big number or it could be a small number. What are these 7 truths?
Okay. Let me see if I have it pulled up here. This is Dimitri's 7 Universal Truths to Living a Life Worth Living. And let's see what's pulled up. Okay. Book 2. Do you have them in front of you?
Let's see. I don't have those parts of the notes. I just got the book here.
Yeah, I'll have it here in a second. It takes a second to So so Dimitri's are the main character in the book, and he's come up with these seven universal truths of living a life worth living. And the first one is, somehow, some way, each one of us has chosen our own unique, unchosen, chosen experience. Therefore, all things that happen to us actually happen for us.
Mm.
So he has kind of an interesting way of twisting things around with words, but meaning that, we choose to know that we chose this somehow. And what proof is that? I don't have the proof. The proof is that I'm going to say that's what happened. That's me, like putting in, creating my perspective. So I take responsibility for coming into this planet and experiencing the things that are happening. And when it says that it's an unchosen chosen, that means it doesn't seem like it was chosen, but it was chosen. So then therefore everything happens to us actually happens for us. That's why when we talk about these hardships and how they transfer, they can, help us transform into a better version of ourselves. That's what that's there for. Now, does everyone take the bait and go in the direction of self-awakening? No, not always, right? Many people need to keep getting hit and hit and hit over and over again, maybe throughout their life, different lifetimes even, until they finally, maybe heal that, if you want to use that word, or repair that part of the broken part within them, which probably came from some kind of a karmic situation over, different lifetimes, maybe.
Yeah, certain things in a past life can be carried down in your spiritual karma, where it's just you replaying these events over and over again.
Over and over, yeah.
Kind of Groundhog Day.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that movie, but sometimes I can't sit there long enough. I'm like, oh my God. They know again. Now, as far as, let's see.
So that was the first one, just to be clear. And there's more, but we can talk about that or something else.
Now, what is the? Oh, okay, that's number one. I don't want to go through all seven because
okay, gotcha.
Because I feel that would it gives a reason for people to go and hey, go get the book. Go get
that's a good
read
point.
the book. Can't give it all away. So let's see. I'm looking at not too often I go through the websites and stuff like that, but I'm looking through some of our notes here, and now this because I want to touch a little bit on the shift because a lot of my notes are calling for this shift, this coming shift for humanity, and I felt it, and a lot of the spiritualists are talking about it. And a lot of the people that I work with, my colleagues, are always talking about there's a shift coming. There's something is happening.
Yeah.
What is your view on this shift?
My view on the shift is that we are going to evolve out of the current systems that we live in right now that were maybe born from greed and all kinds of different, things that maybe we could say worked for us. Like we can't say that capitalism doesn't work. It works. It's worked for us. We're wearing shoes and clothing right now. And we're sitting and got microphones in front of us. So it worked, right? But ultimately, Rome has to fall every once in a while. And this time it's bigger than just that. This time what wants to happen, what will happen is a spiritual revolution. We've heard of like the Industrial Revolution, all these different revolutions.
Yeah.
This is the spiritual revolution. This is when we as humanity take a big step and we create heaven on earth. Now, the problem with that is, or the part that maybe not so fun, is that the whole thing has to break down in order for that to happen. And that might not look so great. And nobody said it was going to be easy. And I know, all the sages and all the authors of the past and the seers, they all say the same thing. Everything the Bible says it is. We're in the throes of it right now. I would have to say that it feels like we're at the very beginning. In my books, it's allegorical fiction. I speak to the possibility and sort of lay out a blueprint to where we can speed up that process and not have 1,000 years of hell, or whatever it is that the other side maybe wants. When I say the other side, I'm talking about the unseen realms that, where the darkness sits and whatnot. And, it's sort of making its move right now. And you can see it as our systems and the people in power are sort of at this last grasp where they're just trying to throw this at us and they throw that and then just want anything they can do. But as you can see, it's not really working. It's actually pushing us towards an awakening. Have you ever heard someone named Paul Levy? He talks about Watiko. Watiko is the dark, all these unseen realms and beings, or whatever you want to call them, energies. We can't do it just to try to talk about it because we're stuck in the third dimensional trap.
Yeah.
But people have gone, and so they create different words. So he calls what the Cree Indians call Watiko, which is the dark entity that's really in control of our earth right now, and it can't help but to push us towards awakening. Like, it doesn't know it's doing that. It's making things harder and harder and harder, and then that also comes inside of us, sort of like when the Bible says we were born into sin. We were born into the disconnection of whole oneness and wholeness with God. Like, let's say it that way, right? And the baby comes out and it's perfect, and it's like, wow, you can see it in its eyes that it's just this vast, infinite, intelligence that also forgot everything and doesn't know where it's at. It's a kind of a crazy thing where it has duality there with that, and then but that's the truth of us, right? And so what we're all in the process of doing is going back home, and we're all and if you notice, like, everybody's going through something right now. For the most part, it's hard for all of us in all different ways, and it's almost like feel like this compression, and I think that's what the shift is going to look like, is when we come on the other side of that. But it needs to happen on a global level. It needs to happen big. And how does it start? Well, it starts with just the first person, which is you and me. Like, I start here. So I have an awakening, and I continue to keep working on myself. Why did I think that? What did I just say? Where did that come from? Heal that. Okay, what's next? And as long as we're in these bodies, there's always going to be something to work on. That's the way I look at it. That's what Dimitri says in the book anyways. And so, you're just constantly shifting our perception to get out of resistance and into an acceptance of what is. Doesn't mean we can't stand up and change it and say no and make the moves that we need to make, but we also have to we have to get kind of realistic here and go, oh wow, this stuff is happening. This is real. This is not a drill.
Yeah. And especially at a global level, we can all see this now at a global level. There's so much stuff going on. You've got Ukraine, you've got Israel, you've got and not to mention what's not talked about. There's so much stuff in the background that is not being talked about, and we can only imagine. And there's so many people out there always, they're always making the comment, the apocalypse is coming, the apocalypse is coming. Is your thought on the apocalypse this convergence, this precipice, this moving through that period?
Yeah, it's like, this is the shift. There's a lot of, again, we're talking about things that we don't really understand, because we came here with a very limited use of our mind, limited knowing, but we're here to grow and to learn and to get more and more, and eventually become ourselves the light, like really become kind of like a walking Christ or Buddha on earth at some, like every single one of us. That sounds kind of crazy. It's like, well, that's not happening. I know, but it is the process, and it will happen to everybody at some incarnation. But I would say the apocalypse for me, and all these, whatever we're talking about, where they talk about the Kali Yuga, where we're in this cycle of going down, it's eventually going to go up. It has to, because the light will always outshine the dark. It's just that we believe in this thing called time, this illusionary concept of time that we created so that we can, well, first of all, we found out, we started looking in the mirror, seeing change. And then we go, oh, there's this thing called time. And then we started using it, and now we use it as a tool. But the truth is, there really isn't any time. And the shift is happening. Now, we all want it to happen in my lifetime or my kid's lifetime, if you have kids. And the truth is, nobody knows, and all we can, for me, like, my best thing that I can do is like speak like this, talk, help others, and write these books that where we can imagine what it would look like if we were to put a, fast track on this awakening thing, and how these guys create this with a piece of technology, and the world wakes up, and then it puts that into people's imagination, and they can feel that it's happening in some way, even if it's in a book and in a fiction, because anything that's ever been invented or happened in the world has been imagined first. Everything. You're going to go make a sandwich, you imagine that sandwich before you go make it.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing. I'm just trying to create a blueprint and it's really coming through me. I don't have much to do with it. I don't think about what I'm going to write. It comes to me, and then I go, oh gosh, and I try to jot down the scenes that I get if I go, and I kind of do this little clearing thing where I go into a sauna, hot tub, cold, and then my mind gets cleared of all the garbage of my life filled stuff. And then all of a sudden, bam, this stuff comes in, and I'm like, okay, try to grasp it. And then I sit down, and the writing just happens. I don't have there's no effort involved, and there's nothing it's very strange. I tell you, I was never a writer and a reader or anything like that, and these things are just happening. It's kind of interesting.
So in a sense, you feel that you're channeling this information.
Yeah. No, without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. That's where the best writing comes from. I mean,
Yeah, and I never want to say that to sound like I'm the only one that can channel. I think we're all channels, and maybe I've done some stuff inside, like this deep shadow work, and I'm able to open up a certain type of channel through writing. And I think that everybody has some way of that expression coming through them. We'll call it the expression of the divine coming through them. So it's not like it's just for me or I'm some special person. I mean, I just do the thing, and I wouldn't want to do anything else. So it's fine,
Yeah. Now there's I'm sure there's so many people out there, whether you're watching this show or going to be listening to the show later, that people are going, and I've thought this many times too. It's like, man, what can I do? What can I do to help move this shift forward? I mean, because people feel so small, especially nowadays. It's like, man, I can't do anything. What can I do? How can I go out? It's not like I can go out and protest, but you don't have to. What are your thoughts on or let everybody know where can they start first to help this shift along?
The number one thing that they can do to help the shift along is to wake up themselves only. That's it. That's all you have to worry about first. Wake up to the truth. Wake up to the lies that have been told to you, that you've believed by people who have sort of, drinking the Kool-Aid and the Tang, as we say. And
Yeah.
it's in my book too. And so, yeah, you really go in there and you do that deep shadow work. Number one is dealing with what happened to you, and get past the victimhood mindset. Most people have it because every one of us came onto planet Earth in total peace, other than that fact when we had to come out, we're like, well, what's this? And then all of a sudden, here we are, and we're kids. And when you get around 7 to 9 years old, some stuff starts either has happened, but you start to put it together in your head, and you become a victim to these things. And it happened with me, and it happens with pretty much everybody. So that's where I would always say to start: get yourself clear of victimhood. If you are blaming something for somebody or something, or a world that did you wrong, God, or usually it's another person, if you're still blaming, you are lost. You will not reach ascension with a chip on your shoulder or you pointing the finger outward at someone else. There's 3 pointing back at you. You are the one. It's true, someone might have done something to you, I get that, but what you say about it in here, and of course out here, but mainly in here, what do you tell yourself about what happened is the key to your liberation. You have to shift your perception. And the way I usually explain to people how to do that is by realizing that the idea is to have compassion for everybody, and understanding that whatever they did, as heinous as it was, they were doing the best that they could with what they had in their little tiny toolbox at that time. People get all pissed off when I say stuff like that and yell and all that. It's okay. You can do that. You can remain in your suffering, angry at that person, but it is a fact. How do we know that it's fact? I could just ask the person I'm standing in front of, have you ever treated someone unkindly? Well, yeah, but it's different. Wow. Well, where's the bar? Is there this certain graph where we go and find out, oh yeah, this guy, he's done. No, we all are capable of this. We're all in this together. it doesn't mean that you need to go be best friends with that person. You just inside need to go, wow, okay, I get it. And that's compassion. And then what I even tell them to do next step is to go and apologize for blaming that person your whole life, because that really removes the little chip inside of your brain that's been sitting there for so long. When you go and you do, we call it Ho'oponopono, and we say, I'm sorry. I've been blaming you this whole time. Please forgive me. I'm doing my best too. And I know that you were at that time. You don't say, I forgive you. I don't ever suggest people say, I forgive. It's just like you sitting up in this big chick chair. I forgive you. And I forgive, I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
that to me is just more ego stuff. And for me, the forgiveness is of course, that comes along with the compassion in your heart for that person. And then you thank them for everything, because they showed up in this journey with you to show you something. And then Ho'oponopono always ends it with I love you, because we do love everybody, we just don't know it. and that's, again, you just go back to that little baby, and it loves everything and everybody. You can put anything in front of a cockroach, it's gonna go, hey. We might go and just get that thing out of here.
And I realized too today, well, this has been probably happening as long as mankind, but listening. People don't seem to want to listen. Just sit and listen. If somebody's arguing to somebody, or it seems like, I know, it's like I read some meme a couple months ago, and it keeps sticking in my head that it always seems like it's the wise man that stays silent.
Hmm.
Yet it's the ignorant that always wants to shout and be loud and talk and give away all this energy. But it seems like too, it's like people just don't want to sit and actually listen to somebody.
Yeah.
Um, and that just seems to be another approach to where, if we're going to shift, that we should just sit back and observe rather than always criticize and stuff like that. Because people are so quick to criticize somebody for the simplest things, and then you get into arguments, and then who knows what wars.
Wars. That's
Yeah.
that's the unhealed ego. That's all it can do is make noise. It's
Mhm.
just it needs to make that noise, and it needs to be right, make others wrong. Yeah, if you say you're right, if you just sit there and listen and you hear the point of view. And I have to remind myself of that sometimes. I'm not a big fan of wokeism. This
Yeah.
bizarre phenomenon in our world.
It
I'm
is
not a
bizarre.
Yeah, it is bizarre. It's sick. It's I believe that it's another tactic for the darkness to tear this world apart, and it's working to a certain degree. I believe it's starting to shift a little bit. People are starting to go, no, 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 I'm not doing this anymore. And
Yeah.
we're starting to see the repercussions of all this violence in the streets. And like I kick myself sometimes for putting on Twitter, but you see these kids getting beat up because they're white, and I mean, it's like, wow, oh, one after the other after the other. And some people would say, well, yeah, but that happened. Well, that's what are we gonna do? Eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Man, it's just
Mhm.
it's a tough time with this wokeness. So, and again, it's all based in victimhood mindset, right? Victim mindset. So we really start, in my books, we really do go over the woke concept, and I'm full frontal boom on it. There's no, I take the gloves off in book number 2, not book number 1's. Quite gentle until it gets to the end, and that was done intentionally, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like every month has its own flavor. There's something new coming out on the social platforms
Yeah.
or in the world in general. It's like,
And
"What?"
always to divide us somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And something new comes out because the last one didn't work. It's like,
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. And as long as it keeps coming out new and fresh, then you got people looking at it, and then they go and they act, and then, okay, now we got to do another one. And for me,
Mhm.
again, this is the spiral into darkness. We're still going towards the bottom as a collective, and it continues to go down and down. And hitting the bottom, what does that look like? Wow, is it gonna look like a World War III? Is it gonna look like how bad does it have to get until we start, like looking at each other and going, man, you're not my enemy. You're my brother, and you're my sister. I love you. And that's where we got to get. We got to get to that place where everybody, I always use this as an example. If we were, if you and I are living on the same street or whatever, and in a cul-de-sac, and something bad happens, big earthquake, houses are all crumbled, and you've got a sign for one political guy in your lawn, and it's whatever color it is, and I've got a different color with a different name on it, and we don't like each other before that because blah, blah, and we were like this. I tell you right now, you'd be in my house trying to help me, and I'd be in yours trying to help you if something bad happened like that. And that's the truth. And the dark lord, or whatever you want to call it, that energy that wants to hold us all down and keep us separated, is doing a phenomenal job, really. And you have to tip your hat every once in a while and say, wow, that's some intelligence right there. There's some serious intelligence behind this. It cannot win, but it is doing a good job at this moment. It's very intelligent,
Yeah. What do you think this entity is? Do you think it's an entity, or do you think it's some sort of a collective, an entity that, yeah, I'm trying to get into quantum physics or something.
Yeah.
But do you think it's a spiritual entity similar to the devil, or do you think this is some sort of
I think that it is what we would, like, if anybody's had a massive experience where they had a connection to the divine source, God, they know that there's no words that will ever describe that. It's not a man with a white beard that's making decisions. That doesn't exist. It's something much bigger than it. It's inexplainable, and it's infinite. That's it.
Mhm.
So too, in a way, can we not explain this dark entity, this energy, whatever it is? I guess, you look at the movie The Matrix, and you see like how when they say, we're basic, that's all kind of almost a documentary, we're a battery at the end of the day. But this negative, so there's different names for it. There's some call it Watiko, and call it Satan. Again, we're just trying to use words and mythology to try to capture something that we don't know enough about.
Yeah.
But I would say it's much bigger than a guy with red horns and that kind of. It's much bigger than that. I believe that there's many of them. It's almost like a like
like a legion.
Like a legion, a cosmic legion that just feeds off of our negative energy like a straw, and I can say that because I've had some one of those visionary experiences. I've gone 3 times to that place where they exist, and I've had my up in front experience, and what I saw and felt, I know it was real. It's just in another dimensional, like reality or whatever you want to call it. Again, it's the undescribable, but I saw it, and I was very clear to me, It's back.
There?
Yeah, what happened?
I don't know. That's the first time that happened. It literally everything dropped out. Everything.
Yeah, I've been sitting here waiting on the thing the whole time. I got off and came back because you had frozen up.
Yeah.
We okay now?
Yeah, is it still recording? Well, that's good. It's still recording. Wow. Cool. All right. That's good. There's a lot to edit out.
Didn't like what we were talking about.
I've had some shows that as soon as I start talking about whatever the trigger word is,
wow,
there might be a trigger word somewhere, and I think the word on this one was
oh, I've had the problem when I use the A word that I use, and I won't use it again. They are, those guys. Yeah. I've had my run-ins big time with them, man, big time.
Yeah. But yeah, strange. This to this extent, this is the first time this has happened, where literally the entire internet just dropped out. It was like a blackout. That's literally what it was. It's like, what?
Wow.
The hell was that? I don't know. But
right when we were talking about that, wow.
But I'm not surprised.
So are you gonna like edit that out and or bring us back to where we were or something?
Yeah, I'll edit that out, and yeah.
I mean,
it's a good story.
Yeah, no, I mean, I may keep the story and say, I don't know, however you want to do it, let's do it.
Right?
Works.
Yeah.
But
let's pick up where we left off. Oh, yeah, the distractions. So it just seems like there's a lot of distractions out there. That everything that's going on in today's society, everything that we see on the media, on the news and stuff like that, it just seems like there's all these distractions going on to pull us away from what's really going on behind the curtain in the land of
Yeah,
Oz, so to speak.
a lot of us. I
Um,
agree.
but so, what are your thoughts on um, people helping, not helping, but uh, do you think this is like the first step of trying to unplug, so to speak?
You mean as far as us as a collective trying to
Yeah,
unplug?
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it seems that way. And then there's all these forces that don't want us to unplug, and so they're doing everything they can to keep their little system going, you know.
yeah.
But it's a system that's
Smartphones.
broken. It doesn't work for, you know, the truth is it doesn't work for everybody, and things need to be altered. And but to be altered, it would have to be so big. You know, there's a guy named Charles Eisenstein out there, and he wrote a book called Sacred Economics.
Mhm.
And he talks about the gift economy, and it's something that is so like crazy to believe that could work. But if it doesn't, and we don't do something that turns into a different kind of way of living, then I don't know what this world's going to look like pretty soon, you know.
Hmm. Um, do you have any thoughts on any type of preparation as far as what we are to the good things that we are to look forward to when the shift takes place and we move through this veil?
Well, if as long as people do their own internal shadow work and their own work, and they begin to awaken, and they awaken to that force that's bigger than all of us down here on little planet Earth, and realize that we are an extension of that. We are part of it. We're not separate from it. Um, if we start to tap into that and find that bliss and that joy and the happiness that we came here to find anyways, um, life will become easier. And the other biggest part is to prepare for how you prepare maybe is to realize that you will never really die. I mean, your body will die for sure, but you're this thing called awareness, or whatever words you want to use, but that awareness is going to be forever and ever and ever. So as soon as like the body passes, you're going into some kind of an experience. It's not like just black dirt and it's just crud. You can feel the worms eat you. It's nothing like that at all.
Yeah.
You just leave this body and you're on a new journey, and that is a fact. That's I know for sure. It's just some things I know, and there's some things I don't know, and there's some things I believe in. This one I know, and that's once you get there, and you know you can either do that by faith or by doing some, study into this a little bit and realize, oh man, I'm never really gonna die. It's just been this big lie that I've been told,
Yeah.
and realize that it's not the end of the world. And yes, we're made to survive, and yes, that's what we're here to do as long as we can. And then at some point, we're all going, and just know that you're going, but you're just going somewhere else. And that
Yeah.
helps, because that's the biggest fear we've got is our fear of death. Everyone's always afraid, am I gonna die? Well, yeah, at some point.
Yeah, and it's always that, that's always been a topic of discussion that's been always looked at as taboo.
Yeah,
Death, nobody wants to talk about it. Oh, we'll celebrate a holiday during the year for it, and
yeah.
throw all the symbolism out about death, and have horror movies and all kinds of stuff and throw it
Oh
in our
yeah.
face. But when it comes to actually death, it just doesn't seem like people really get to that point of realizing their own mortality.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's to be avoided in a sense, and I think that that's a mistake. I think that if that's more resistance in a way. And what they say, resistance equals persistence. So
yeah,
whatever fear you have that makes you resist this idea of death and try to, you know, whatever it is you're trying to make last forever, just know that you're on your way out. We all are. Every car, every rock, and even the sun is going to go away at some point and burn itself out. In so many billions of years or whatever. So we're all in the same boat, and to know that you're not really ever going to die like forever. Like you like Dimitri says in the book, he says you'll never not be. And that's true. You will be in some way. You will always be, and that's a cool thing to know when you really know it inside, and you can become a bit more fearless in life. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, what is your thought as far as that just our ability to create things? I mean, we are inherently creators. We create just by thought and the power of thought, and how this can act as a catalyst to moving forward is not we don't have to. It's almost like we don't have to do anything, but it's just keeping it at the front of our mind, the front of our cerebral cortex, that visualizing this and visualizing will eventually create it, especially as a collective.
Yeah, and if you can, I think in the book, the guy calls it like you step into the already accomplished, meaning you start to live your life as if this thing called global awakening has already happened. Like you literally find the joy within yourself, find the joy in this life, no matter what's going on, find it. It's there. It's in nature. It's in the sky. It's in you. It's in your child's eyes, or watching kids play, or whatever it is. Something's going to light you up, and stay there and start to visualize and to feel what it feels like to be in an awakened world. Because like a lot of spiritual people talk about, they say it's already awakened. The world is already, it's just that we're living in this sort of quantum timeline illusion that everything's not, but it already is. And so it's kind of interesting, and that's one of those things I would say I believe. I believe that to be true. I'm not maybe smart enough to tell you how or why, but I think it's a good thing for us to like say, okay, so it's all I need to do now is step into it just in my own eternal way, and really live as if it's already accomplished, and then it'll just start to pop up and start happening in front of us. Again, that's my reason for writing these books, where you get so into it, and you're like, you see the world waking up, and if you see it also falling apart at the same time, but and you realize that this is not only possible but inevitable. So yeah.
I had also see if it can kind of relate to this. Is I've had some visions in the recent past that this emergence, this thing that we're moving through, this change and this shift, that it is a parallel universe. It's right existing right next to it.
Yes.
But those that, and some people call it the fifth dimension, sixth dimension, seventh dimension, depending on what frequency that you can vibrate at and get to that point. But this emergence into it is, I was comparing it to the rapture, the rapture that's talked about in the Bible. Is all these people are disappearing. They're dying. Well, we call it dying, but you're not really dying, but they're disappearing. If you've ascended, but you're merging into this parallel dimension slowly but surely. Do you does that seem like some sort of does that seem like a reasonable hypothesis?
Yes. Some very wise people that have come into my life, very spiritually connected, I would say much deeper maybe than me. I do my best, but I really admire them. And one particular one, and she told me once, she's all, the idea is that you just play with the idea that there's a like quantum slice of your life that already has you, whatever it is that you want, and it already exists out there. And she says, just start with that. Start playing with the idea that this thing that you want, and maybe we could do this with global awakening, that it already exists. She just says, play with it. Like, don't try to believe it, because maybe that's too much, but just start to play with it. And she said that to me, I was so, at first I'm like, oh, and she says, Mike, I said, just play with it. Play with the idea, like imagine it. And it took me a day, but man, it was really weird, because once you start imagining something like that, you go, my God, this shit's real. And that's what happened, and I believe that to be very, very true, and I think we are just getting closer and closer to stepping into it, but we're falling hard, and I guess it has to happen this way, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that there is going to be a falling.
Yeah,
Um,
or we are falling, you know.
yeah, we are falling, and by when we hit the ground, be ready. Just be
Yeah,
ready. Be prepared.
yeah. That's right. Who can
Yeah.
handle that frequency, like you said? I think that's an important part of it because that's a big one. And you know, there's a whole idea of that certain people are going to stay on this planet Earth that's moving into this fourth density or fourth dimension, however you want to look at it, and then some of them are going to somehow be removed. And I don't know what that looks like, what that means, can't
Yeah.
imagine, but there's a lot of people that talk about that. There's a lot of written work on that as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, you know, it's an interesting time to be alive, right? I mean, we
Oh
chose
man,
this
yeah.
somehow. Wow.
Yeah.
Because it sure the heck wasn't like this, what, 5 years ago, you know? I mean, you know, everything was so different, you know?
That's amazing too. In the last 20 years, even in the
Yeah,
last 20 years. I mean, look what life was like before 9/11.
this is true.
Everything was
Yeah,
bliss, just
yeah,
bliss. Nobody ever thought about anything like that, and suddenly everything just now, just since then, just it's
yeah,
wow, what happened?
yeah, yeah. And the control that the government gained from that or took from that and all the stuff that's gone down. Yeah, it's pretty crazy,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah.
So tell the audience and our viewers, listeners, where they can find your book and how they can get a hold of you.
MichaelMcGinnis.com, McGinnis. It's down at the bottom there. You can find all the books on there, and it'll bring you to an Amazon link. There's also a thing you can sign up for mail. What is it? Yeah, we'll have your mail out for mail outs and stuff like that. And then I'm on Instagram and I think Twitter as well. So, and I'm about ready to start doing some YouTube stuff, just where I'm speaking and
Yeah,
getting ready for that. But
I'll
yeah.
put that up. Let's
Mhm.
see. Yeah, since I got kicked off the internet, everything kind of reset, kind of weird. So let me
Oh,
throw the Facebook
I,
and Instagram link there.
oh, okay. I
Um,
still see the Michael McGinnis down at the
Michael
bottom.
McGinnis official.
Oh, I
So
see. Okay,
there it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Um, so as a takeaway, what would you like to give our listeners and viewers as a takeaway for today?
Wake up or else.
Yeah.
The guy says that in the book. It's kind of funny. Yeah, and I mean that. You know, like people say, "Well, what is there to wake up to?" Like, because a lot of like what we're talking about here. Somebody who doesn't, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know there was a thing called spiritual awakening before 10 years ago, and I had this big experience and this thing happened. So there is, and you came here for it. You didn't come here to just chase money around and girls and or whatever and stuff and have kids. That's something that you do in life in the physical, but you really came here to go back home to the truth, which is the light of where you came from, but here on earth, and to create earth as to become like the hero in the hero's journey that creates heaven on mother earth, home, HOME, and to get back there. And that's what I say. And he starts right here with one, cleaning up all the thoughts. Why did I have jealousy? Why did I think that? Why did I yell at that person? Go back and fix it. Jump on this path. It's the spiritual path. It's what you came here for. Red road, they call it Camino Rojo in Spanish, and the indigenous call it that. And I urge people to at least, and if you want to know what it's like the first book of mine really is like a way to go, oh, is that what this stuff's about? And I, so, you know, I'm not trying to sell my book. It just really does do that to people. It was written for
Yeah.
people who are like, what is this thing everybody's talking about? It's written for them, for those people,
Yeah.
and for people who are also on the path, you know. It's
Yeah.
always good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and stay logged in when we finish a show. Just got a couple words to throw out there for you
Yeah.
after we log off.
Of course.
But other than that, Michael, I appreciate it. Namaste, my friend.
Namaste. Thank
Thank you
you.
for sharing your time,
I hope.
and welcome back on the show anytime. You got
Oh, thank you. I
something
appreciate that.
uh,
Mhm.
something you want to share, something that we want to put out that's time sensitive,
Uh-huh.
um,
Oh, yeah.
then we can definitely do that. That is what the seance is for. That is what Conscious Radio Network is for, is to spread the word. Whether it's spiritual, metaphysical, paranormal, it doesn't matter. If it benefits humanity for the good, that's what we do. Cool. Awesome. Thanks again, brother. And thank you, everybody, for chiming in and watching Conscious Radio Network's The Seance. And until then, we will see you next week.